makes me smile. So now it is my privilege, my honor, to introduce our guest speaker for today. This person isn't a guest. This person is family. So I'm going to invite my beloved Shelly to come up here, and I'm going to let her do her own introduction. Shelly Pierson.
Aloha and good morning. Gosh, it's full house today. What's that? Oh, thank you. Sound check, everything good? Okay. So I've been attending CSL since 2017. Most of you know me, but there are a few new faces, so welcome. My husband Glenn and I moved here in 2017 and started building a little house up the road in Mountain View, and that's our winter home now. So this has become a family and so many beloved friends, and we just love coming back to visit, and we hate leaving every late spring because we go back to the mainland, but we do come back every fall. And I used to have a grown-up career. I spent decades in the IT industry, working with computers, systems, data, people, project management. Then I retired, and now I have a fun career, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Though I have 20 minutes, I could talk about this topic for 3 hours, so I will keep it limited. And thank you, Rev Bev, for inviting me to talk today. As a past life regression therapist, I've worked with hundreds of clients over the years. And one of the many things I've learned is why we choose the challenges we have in our lives. Now I know some of you are going to look at me and think, seriously, Shelly, I chose these challenges? And I'm going to say, I know you're a bit skeptical, but hear me out. Yes, you did. Okay? So let me ask you this question. Think about your life, all the occurrences, and when did you learn the most? When life was easy and smooth and comfortable, or when you had your challenges? And I always get the nodding of the heads when we had our challenges, whatever they may be. Life conditions, loss, financial challenges, health challenges, we all have them. We're not immune to any of that. And what else I've learned through my work with my clients is there's a consistency with everyone. And so I've come up with what I call my 12 foundational concepts. And I'm going to go through those pretty quickly because it sets the stage for the rest of my talk. Number 1, we are all eternal souls having a human experience. 2, our souls are on a quest to evolve. 3, we must have this human experience in order for our souls to evolve. 4, and this is an important one, each of us has a loving spirit guide who is always with us, guiding us every step of the way, helping us. Spirit guides are highly evolved souls who have completed all of their earth lessons, and now they're in a place where they can help us in our earth lessons. 6, our souls never take on a lesson that we're not prepared to take on. 7, our souls actually script out our upcoming life as we prepare to come into human again. We script the life. We choose the challenges. And next, as humans, we have this unique attribute called free will. We can choose whether we want to work on our lesson or whether we want to veer off our course and not work on it. And next, if we don't complete a lesson, we get what I call a do-over. We get to do it again. But number 10, the important thing with this is a do-over is not punishment It's not retribution. It's simply another opportunity to keep working on the lesson. Because I'll tell you, as we evolve, and that's the next point, our lessons become more challenging. They become more difficult. So just like you go from kindergarten to 12th grade, you take the more challenging courses later on, right? Because you're more skilled and better prepared. Our souls are the same. And last but not least, when we've completed all of our earth lessons, we don't have to incarnate here anymore. We can be done and go on and do other things. But I want to go back to point number 5, choosing our life lesson. Now, there's a whole list of life lessons, but I'm just going to give you a short list because you think, what are life lessons? Well, maybe your soul is ready to work on compassion, or maybe learning to stand up for yourself, or humility. Even self-love. Having self-love for ourselves is a lesson we have to work on. And here's a big one, forgiveness. Forgiveness is a challenging lesson, and oftentimes it takes more than one lifetime to complete it, and that's perfectly okay. I like to use the analogy of, let's say your 8-year-old child decides to take English writing lessons. You saddle them up, you give them some coaching, they get on, go around the first time, and they fall off. Do we punish them for falling off? Of course not. We dust them off, make sure they're safe, tell them what they did right, give them some advice to do it again, and get back up on that horse. And that's what our loving spirit guides do for us when we don't complete a lesson. They put their loving arms or wings around us, and they help prepare us to do it again. And we get better every time. And just like that 8-year-old, as she keeps going around and around, the jumps get bigger and bigger and more challenging, right? Our souls are the same. So as I talk about challenges, why do we choose the challenges in our lifetime? I also want to interchange that word with opportunities, because they're one and the same. It's how you view it. But I do know, and I truly speak from the heart, that there's some life challenges that are so hard to accept. So just hear me out, and I'll talk about the loss of loved ones, especially children. That's probably the most challenging experience any of us will ever have. Fortunately, I've never lost a child, but I know people who have, and I have lost a younger brother. So as we choose the particular lesson that our soul is ready to work on, we need to script out the life. We actually get to choose what region of the world we're going to be born into, what culture, possibly the religion, our skin color. We get to choose all those attributes at the soul level before we come in. I like to use the analogy of creating a stage play. So imagine you have a blank notebook, and you and a group of people are going to write a stage play called Shelly Needs to Learn Forgiveness. I'll use myself. So you script out the characters, and you have to script in some interesting challenges to make the stage play interesting, right? But you have to put in the opportunities for Shelly to work on forgiveness. So put that into your own life. If you chose working on self-love, what kind of opportunities would you have to give yourself to learn that and practice it? Overcoming abandonment, that's a big one. Think about that one. How many adopted people who have lost a parent at a young age because they either walked out or there was an accident, or the father with 2 children whose wife left and never came back. They're all forms of abandonment. But if we don't complete the lesson early on in life, we keep getting the same opportunity presenting itself over and over again for us to work on our lessons. Some souls choose alternative, difficult lifestyles to work on their lessons. And what I mean by that is Maybe they choose to be gay, or choose to be handicapped, or choose to be poor. And I swear, I look forward to the day when we don't have to label people like that it doesn't matter that it's an alternative lifestyle. We're all human. I look forward to the day that we never have to label people. But I'll tell you about that one. I have a client who asked me, she wanted to know why her son chose to be gay. And it wasn't that she had any issue with it at all. She was more concerned with the challenges other people would present to him. And so when she was in a session with me, and I was with her spirit guide joined us, and I was asking questions, I asked, why did her son choose to be gay? And the exact answer was, quote, let me find it, to experience discrimination. That soul wanted to experience discrimination at the human level. And I would venture to say that soul is rather advanced to be ready to take on that tough lesson. And then I asked, what can my client do to be supportive? And the answer was, just be patient. Okay? I often hear stories of elderly people, and I actually have a stepmother, my sister's mother, who's in hospice right now. So close to death last June twice. I flew up to Portland to be there, and here she is still hanging on. Bless her soul, and making my little sister just happy that she's still here. But she cannot walk, she cannot feed herself, so my sister spoon feeds her every day and talks to her, getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And it's easy for us to think, why is she still here? She should go on. Or if we have that 90-year-old grandfather who has dementia in bed, in hospice, we wonder, why are they still here? Because we think there's no more for them to work on. But shift over. What if they're here hanging on to help others of us work on our lessons? Maybe we need to learn patience and work on compassion and getting along with siblings in a situation like that. So I would like for you to consider some of your reoccurring challenges in your life. Do you keep attracting the wrong, negative people to you? Do you keep having financial issues? Are there health issues? Think about those reoccurring challenges. And it might be not the right place here and now, but when you get home, if you were to get in a quiet place, reflect on your life and ask your guide to help you identify what lesson you're working on. You may hear the voice. And when you get clarity on that lesson, sometimes it softens the edges a bit on those challenges to help you accept why you're facing this. I often use the example of having cancer. If we have a good friend who's diagnosed with cancer, like our niece recently with breast cancer, we have such compassion for what she's going to go through. But if you yourself have experienced cancer and survived it, you have a whole nother level of compassion to provide your friends and family, knowing what they're going through. So sometimes it's a gift so that you can help others on their journey, okay? And again, when we don't complete a lesson, we get to do it over again. That same client who was inquiring about her son, she's become a good friend of mine, and she's working on forgiveness. And we visited a past life where, as a teenager, this is a tough subject, she was raped, and she had a child, and the family and she raised that child in a very loving home, but she never forgave the culprit, never in that lifetime. Well, she carried that lesson to her current life. And the souls in her soul group, when they were designing that stage play, they agreed to take on different roles, different circumstances to help her work on forgiveness. And it's a tough one today. But by learning this, she realized she can't push it under the rug. She needs and wants to work on it because she doesn't want to do a do-over again. And how the lesson of forgiveness show up in her current life is her grown brother took advantage of her 10-year-old daughter. And I won't go into detail. But when you know that 10-year-old daughter forgave her uncle, my friend, my client, did not. 3 years later, that now 13-year-old girl died in a car accident. Horrendous. But by having this session, we had a few sessions, she learned that her daughter is an advanced soul who chose to come in and endure a challenging, tough life and then leave to help her mother's soul work on her lesson of forgiveness. See how loving our soul group members are? Just to help us. And I want to say that every one of my clients who's lost a child, those children have been advanced souls. They agree to come in and do those things to help others in their group. And one of my early, I won't say mentor, but someone I listened to years ago who encouraged me to go on this path is Dr. Jeffrey Millman. He's a physician in Reno. And he talked about his first past life experience from another person facilitating, and he visited a past life where he was a 5-year-old girl, Jewish, in Germany, in a concentration camp, and had to go to the gas chamber with her mother. When the session was over, the facilitator asked Dr. Millman, still in his hypnotized state, "Why did you choose to be that young girl and live such a challenging short life?" And the response coming from his soul was, "I knew my mother was going to die that way, and I knew she'd be brave if I was with her. So I did it for her." And it just tug your heart. So we have free will to work on our lessons. We have free will to not. And it's your choice. It's all part of our learning. It's all part of our humanity. And again, as we evolve as souls, our lessons become more challenging. Now, I knew I'd go off script, so I'm just going to talk. But I do want to talk about suicide because it's near and dear to my heart, because I'm a survivor of suicide. SOS members are people who've lost a loved one to suicide. And I lost my little brother 12 years ago. And he left 3 children, young children, to grow up without him. But I do know that people who get to that place, it's not a selfish act. It's truly a last resort of people who get to such a dark place that they've lost all hope that there's anything better in life for them. And if I could just get the point across, we all need you. Please ask for help. Don't let your ego and your pride get in the way. Ask for help because you matter. You matter so much. And in most cases, suicide is a free will choice. So if you opt out early and don't want to complete this tough lesson, you do get a do-over. It's not punishment. It's just, okay, let's work on some things to get you better prepared. And my teacher and mentor, Dr. Backman, who trained and certified me in my work, she knows my story well. And so she facilitated one of my sessions. And with my spirit guide and meeting with my soul group, my little brother was there and my spirit guide was there. And my facilitator asked my guide, did Jimmy's soul learn his lesson about suicide? And the answer was no. He will have to come back and lose a loved one to suicide in order to complete the lesson. So my point in saying that is someone in his soul group, in our soul group, because we share a group, someone at the soul level will choose to come in and make that part of their life to help him learn his lesson, okay? So that's why I say in most cases suicide is free will, and I just urge any of you, if you have people you know, just tell them, please ask for help, okay? We always want to help. Get your ego out of the way. So I've talked about children, and I want to read one last story. I'm going to quote a gentleman by the name of Robert Schwartz. He's written 2 books. He's written 3, but I can't remember the third. Your Soul's Gift and Your Soul's Plan. And he has this article in his newsletter called, What is the Purpose of Catastrophic Events? And what I'm talking about is 6 million people lost in World War II, Jewish people, 3,000 to 9/11, 100,000 people to the tsunami in 2004. And this is what Rob Schwartz has to say, and I'm quoting him. I've received more questions about the pre-birth planning of large-scale negative events. Let's take as an example the tsunami that hit Southeast Asia in 2004. 100,000 people were killed. My understanding is that those souls hoped before they were born that the earth would be at a certain vibration by a certain point in linear time. These souls agreed before birth that if it looked as though the earth was not going to be at that vibration, they would give their lives in a natural, large-scale disaster, because they knew that the result would be a worldwide outpouring of love and compassion that would raise the Earth's vibration to that desired frequency. You may recall that is exactly what happened. The governments of the world put aside their differences and cooperated to funnel and aid Southeast Asia, funnel the aid to Southeast Asia. This outpouring of love and compassion raised the frequency of the planet to that level that the souls had intended. You've probably heard the expression, where you stand depends on where you sit. The tsunami is a great example of that expression. If you are a human who sits in this third dimension Earth world, where you likely stand on the tsunami is that it was a terrible tragedy. If, however, you are a spirit guide who sits in the 4th dimension, then where you likely stand on the tsunami is that this was a great blessing to the world. 2 diametrically opposed viewpoints, both of which are correct from their own perspective. As you look at the challenges in your own life, see if you can shift from the perspective of the personality to that of your soul. You will see your life in an entirely new light. So as I close, I simply want to encourage you to know that you are not alone in this life, and you are not alone with your challenges. And I'll give you a cute story. In one of my client sessions, I had a client, Mary, and she had a lot of challenges in her life. And when her spirit guide came forward, I actually gave her an opportunity to ask him, his name was Rue, some questions, and she asked, "Why weren't you there in my most challenging times?" And his response was, "I was there, but you blocked me." Okay? So our guides are always there. They want to help us. Please let them in. I thank you for your time and letting me share this topic.
Wow. Oh, thank you, Shelly. Thank you for taking us to places that normally we would try not to go, and doing it in the way that you just did, which was just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.